So, looks like the Pertronix distributor will be going in, and it's going to be replacing my Proform distributor. One of the problems with the Pertronix is, if you can see right here, it comes with these nice little nipples. This cap isn't on. So, oops, my plug wires from this cap, here's my plug wires and cap, don't fit on this. Like a dummy, I ordered the wrong cap. So, I'm waiting on a new cap, and I will fix that when it comes, because I just want to use the same plug wires. Believe it or not, it's probably around the same price for either of them. The cap was like, I had to buy it off of Summit, so the cap was like 50 or 60 bucks, and a new set of plug wires is about the same. And on top of all that, trying to find them at the auto store is ridiculous. I can't believe it. But anyways, here is my wiring diagram right here on the left. That's what I need. This is one thing about the Pertronix is real easy, is you just wire it direct. So that's going to get rid of all my other ignition components. So what I'm going to do today while I'm waiting, since this is the day after Easter and I'm not going to be able to get my parts today, they'll probably come tomorrow hopefully, is I'm going to remove what wiring I can and wire up this new distributor, which means, oops, sorry about the bumping, the whole orange box. Well, mine's a silver one today because the orange one burned up already. What I'm going to be doing today is just removing the wires from the coil and removing the wiring, the electronic ignition, the ballast resistor, all that. I can remove all that. All I need is a 12 volt power coming to the coil, and then the wires from the coil to the distributor, and that should be all I need to get this thing set up and running. Plug wires, obviously. So yeah, let me get a wrench, and this guy, and this guy. And one of the main things I need to remember is what wires are going in, where my ignition source is, so I can get the 12 volt. Let me see, it might even be a 3/8. Yep. Okay. That's a 3/8. That's a 5/6. Okay, so we'll get this guy off. So, I don't know, this was a Proform distributor, a Proform Mopar distributor that was in here, and I bought it a couple years ago when I built the engine, and I've said this before, I don't know that the engine's ever really run as well as it should have. I always felt like there was something going on with the timing events where they just weren't that great. There's always a popping, a light popping. I'm going to store this back in my cabinet with all my other little parts and pieces. I'm going to just put the screws back in place here. These fender skirts are shot anyways, so we'll just put stuff back. Okay, and then my harness. Oops. come out. And we have to get the wiring for that removed. So we do have a ground that I have to figure out. And some strays here. Always the fun part of all this is figuring out what wire is what, where does it go, what is it going to affect. So I do see that I have a black wire here which is going to be a ground. That went to my coil, so I will through the engine block. Yeah. So now I have this ballast resistor wire, so I'm going to snip this and I'll tape that wire off because I don't know what it's for yet. Use a little piece of blue tape so I know that it was part of something. Okay, there's my harness. So the harness was a couple of wires that plugged into the distributor, and this will all go with my old distributor setup. For now, let's start with the cabinet. And I'm going to put a little piece of tape on that wire till I find out what it is, what kind of voltage is coming through it. And I will secure it the proper way once I get the rest of the wiring apart. Okay, ballast resistor can come off. It can go in the cabinet as well. Put a screw back in. Cover up any holes. Okay. I wired her up. So I found a cheap set of old wires laying around. So we're gonna give it a shot. Do I even have a coil wire here? I don't know. We're gonna find out if I can make this happen with what I have here. See if the car will pop off. See if what I got works. Okay, so that's a good sign. Okay, so she starts up. So the modus operandi, so to speak, or the next thing I'm going to do is I'm waiting for my new cap, which this should come tomorrow. That'll have the female ends, and I can get rid of all these old wires and put the originals back on. And then we'll take her for a test drive and see how she runs. Alright, so a quick recap on the Duster here. I put in a Pertronix distributor because I'm at my wit's end trying to figure out what's going on with this car, why I don't get any good response out of it, massive bogging, and I've done everything. I've worked on the carb, I've jetted it, and I've put new rods and springs and all that good stuff, and even bought a brand new carb. Went with a little bit smaller carb, an AVS 2650, just trying to get the responsiveness out of this thing. When I built the engine, I bought a Proform Mopar distributor setup through, I think, Mancini Racing or something, and it worked okay, but I always felt like something was off with my timing. I didn't know if it was my actual timing or if it was my cam timing or not, whatnot. So I ended up this early spring or late winter, I actually dug into the engine. I redegreed the cam to make sure. I actually bought a new timing set because I was sure I was off by a few degrees, and I bought a set with some graduations to possibly advance my timing if it was off too much. It felt like it was retarded. I could never really quite square it up, and lo and behold, when I checked all that, the timing was the cam timing was spot on, and so I didn't have to change that. I ended up buying new lifters, and I rebroke the engine in with the original cam, or not original cam, but the original cam I built the engine with. It's a comp cam. It's just a little bit bigger lift cam, little more than a standard street cam. But my lifters weren't spinning right, so I went back through all that, and the last video you saw, it showed that they were spinning. I marked my push rods with a paint marker, and it showed them all spinning. Nothing was wrong with the cam, and nothing really looked wrong with the lifters that I had in there. There was no scoring or anything like that. They just weren't rotating the way I wanted them to. So anyways, I put the engine all back, put everything back together. I just took the top end apart and broke it in, checked it, everything looked good. They were rotating real good, so that problem got out of the way. The engine was still running. It was really bogging. Every time I tried to give it some good gas, like really hit it, it would just sputter and cough and bog, and I couldn't figure anything out. So I finally figured that maybe it's just the distributor just isn't right. Something isn't right in the Proform distributor. I know they run off the Mopar orange boxes, which are aftermarket nowadays, and everybody says they're not as good, which it makes the engine run off of like the distributor run off of like 4.5 volts instead of a 12 volt spark. So I decided to go with Pertronix, which runs off a 12 volt spark system, and I ordered it. That dang thing was pretty expensive. It was like $420, $430. And in the midst of looking up online for it, I got sidetracked with something. I got asked a question by my wife, and I walked away, and I came back and I ordered the wrong one. And in respects to that, I ordered the one with the wrong cap, which was, it had the male ends on the cap, which meant I would have to change all my plug wires. And I went up to the auto store. I was kind of mad about that because I really wanted the female ends like the regular Mopar distributors are, so I didn't have to change my wires out. 'Cause wires are, everything's expensive nowadays. Anyways, I couldn't find any wires to fit. Of course, you go to the auto store and you got a 1970 car with a 71 motor, and the car was originally a slant 6, and the kids behind the counter, they don't know how to cross-reference or look things up, and they can't just walk up to the shelf anymore and just find a V8 set of plug wires that'd work. So that was a big hassle. I never did find the wires. I ended up getting frustrated coming home, and I reordered another cap for it that has the female ends. That'll be here probably tomorrow, if I get this video posted for you today. Tomorrow will be Tuesday. Today's Monday. And I'm going to put it on, and then I'm going to put my original plug wires in. Well, me being as impatient as I am, I started digging around in this crap hole of a garage of mine, and I actually found some old original plug wires that came off of another setup that I had when I had a different, I think I had a 318, and I had bought some Amazon distributor, and it also had the male ends on the cap. And I went to the junkyard and I found a 5-liter Mustang in there, and the plug wires actually worked for that. So I actually still had the cap. It was in a box and the wires were all hooked up to it except for one. So I had to kind of scavenge around my garage, and I just wanted to see if it ran. I put the distributor in. I took all the old wiring out, because when you do this, you don't have to have your orange box or ballast resistor or anything. You run straight 12 volts to the distributor. And anyways, I found these mishmash of plug wires, and I couldn't help myself. I wanted to see if it was going to run any better. So I put them all together, and I don't know if you can see anything. I mean, they're just laying in there, and tried to get the car running, and I noticed that I couldn't get it to start. It felt like I was really retarded on my timing, and the engine would just, and it was, when it would start, I had to use starting fluid to get it to start, and it was really weird. It felt like I wasn't getting any spark until I hit it with starting fluid, and then it would finally fire up and run. And I messed with the timing. I got it timed in and everything, and but I still couldn't get it to start. Well, I had my power line. You have to run a 12-volt power from your ignition to your coil with the Pertronix, and with most of them you do anyways. And the way I had utilized the original wiring, I think it was still dropping the voltage somehow. It wasn't through a ballast resistor, but there must have been so much resistance in the system that it was dropping the voltage, and it didn't want to start the engine. So what I did was I ended up running a wire direct. I have one of these Optima batteries here, and it has 2 posts. So I took it off the side post, and I ran a hot lead down under the dash into a toggle, and then I toggled that out to the coil. And that gave me a full 12 volts, so now the engine starts and runs. I couldn't help myself. I decided I wanted to take it for a ride. Well, it's been raining most of the day, so the streets are kind of wet. But I took it out. There should be a short that I posted before this of me driving around a little bit, and it is 100% better. I can't believe the improvement on this, how it runs now. It's very responsive, and it's got a ton of power, considering it was wet out. Every time I hit the gas, the wheels spun. But I think I like it, and I am going to be putting the new cap